Being aware of your environment, protecting your belongings, and avoiding high-risk areas were some of the steps Police Commissioner David Morris said the public can take to safeguard themselves from becoming victims of crime. The Commissioner, accompanied by Chief Inspector Paula Lane, the head of Road Town Policing, walked through sections of Road Town with JTV News cameras and a representative from ZBVI Radio on Wednesday night. The Police Commissioner pointed out areas that are considered high-risk crime spots, including the area near Mill Mall just 2 weeks ago when someone was robbed near a restaurant.
Making sure that the community are aware that when they are out and about, they could be a victim of crime, and to be able to take notice of the environment that they're in, safeguard their property. If they're in their homes, make sure their property is put away, doors are locked. When they're out on the streets, make sure that they're not standing around darkened areas, that they use the pavements with well-lit areas to walk home in, and don't cut through these dark alleyways. The third area is what we would call the environment, and that's around designing out crime in terms of some of the areas which allow offenders to commit their crime. And one of these areas here, for example, coming down the alleyway, which I just mentioned earlier, where we had a robbery just here on the corner, and the suspect made off down here. In some ways it's slightly different here because, as you can see, it's quite well lit, but it allows the suspect to run off down here into the car park at the bottom and get away.
There are ways businesses can help to deter crime. Commissioner Morris said businesses will benefit by installing cameras, proper lighting, as well as fences and gates to prevent loitering around their premises.
What we're looking at now, particularly in Road Town, is things like the street lighting, improving the lighting around the buildings, but also speaking to business owners and the government in terms of these side alleys. Could we gate them off? You know, particularly at night when the premises all closed, this becomes very dark. Could we actually put up some gates here with the business community, so when the business is closed for the night, they lock up the gate? We've got the little side alleyways here. Again, could we actually put up, a gate here which we close off when the business community shuts for the day? The back of the bank could do, in terms of lighting around here, lighting up the bank in that area, because we've got these lights here. Can you see on the wall? I'm not sure whether they're working or not. In terms of lighting up the back of the bank. The other thing with the community buildings like the banks, etc., is around the business area, is around CCTV cameras for themselves as well. Just don't rely on the police cameras or our CCTV cameras, but put cameras at the back of your buildings, etc., so we can actually see what's going on.
In March this year, 13 closed-circuit TV cameras were installed on Tortola. Commissioner Morris said those cameras have already been tested, but police are still waiting on legislation before they can be used.
In terms of using CCTV cameras, and that's not just about the police, that's about anybody who has CCTV cameras. It's about people's right to privacy under the Constitution. It's not an absolute right, but we do need to have some legislation around how we use those cameras, how we use our CCTV, secure the data, and ensure that people know that they are being observed through CCTV camera in public places. And that's what the legislation is around. So we're waiting for that to be enacted, for us to start using the cameras for what we would call evidential purposes. So if we see anybody committing crime, or we need to use the cameras to produce in court as evidence, we need the legislation to allow us to do that.
The legislation is currently before Cabinet, after which it will be taken to the House of Assembly to be passed into law.